Hello, and welcome to my impressions of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild after about 25 to 30 hours of play. I'm going to tell you 10 things I love about this game and 10 things I don't like. I wrote them down on my phone. I'm going to tell you as I play a little bit. I don't believe that there's going to be too much in the way of spoilers, but I imagine if you're that, I'll even turn the HUD off. I'll imagine that if you're super sensitive to spoilers, you're probably not even watching this. Spoilers, he gets some pretty dope looking armor. Now, it's going to sound... Okay, so Breath of the Wild, it's been getting amazing reviews. It's like the best reviewed game of all time, or some crazy shit already. Let me do something real quick. So I'm going to be playing as I talk about it because that's how I roll. Okay, I already have a marker there. You can actually mark stuff on the map, which is pretty nice. I'm going to give you 10 things I love about this game and 10 things I really don't like about this game. Now, if the negatives sound a little bit more like nitpicks, that's probably because, and while the positives sound a lot more positive, that's because I actually do really love this game. But there are some things that need to be said. Some things that do bother me about this game that I think a lot of other people may not be talking about as much because everyone is really, honeymoon period with this game, and I understand that. I'll also say, before I get into the negatives, that a lot of these changes are in service of this new type of Zelda, so I'm okay with that. If these negatives are what led to this game being what it is, then I understand. Some of them are just going to be kind of annoyances. It's probably going to be a long video. I'm going to try to go here. And we'll get started. Trying to... I think there's a great fairy fountain off in this direction. I've already marked it. I already spotted it. Yeah, over there. We'll head in that direction. Okay. So first, should I start with negatives or positives? And again, this is after about 25 to 30 hours of play. I have not finished this game. I have done quite a bit of exploring. I've done one of the 4 major dungeons. And we'll get to that. Let me move this mic on. Okay. So let's start with the positives. First thing I will say, I'm going to do 10. 10 positives, 10 negatives. Is that the world in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is fucking giant, and it is absolutely impressive. Like, abso-fucking-lutely impressive. One of the best open world games, best open world maps I've ever experienced in a game. I think it ranks up there with stuff like Morrowind. I mean, and even like a Souls game, which granted is a different kind of open world, but amazing nonetheless. I absolutely love. It's not just big, but it's like complex. There are interesting regions that feel very different from one another. Look at this weather. I can't even see. It's impressive. Like, my mouth has been agape every time I enter a new area, I discover a new tower, and I look around and I try to see the things in the world. And that's one of the coolest thing about the crazy topography. I'm gonna die here. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drop. Is that water below me? I have no idea what's gonna happen. Okay. I'm alive. I'm in water. I'm gonna drown. Okay. So that's the first thing that's great. This amazing world. The next thing I'll say that is very cool about this game, that's very good, very much a pro, is it's quite challenging. This is the hardest Zelda game I have played since probably the Oracle games. I think it's harder than any 3D Zelda. Not like super punishing, but you're gonna die a lot, and that's kind of refreshing. I played A Link Between Worlds, several years ago, like the rest of us. I 100%ed that game. I got everything I can get. I'm pretty sure. And I didn't die once. And that was kind of disappointing. On the other hand, with this game, I die all the fucking time. You fall, you die a lot in combat. And that's such a nice, refreshing thing. Next up, you know what I'm going to say? The way you get around this world is the tools that they give you to navigate the world in interesting ways, like climbing, jumping for the first time in a fucking Zelda game. Well, jumping without a rock's feather is so nice and refreshing. Climbing, hang gliding, it is such an awesome way to explore such an awesome world. And a world that, you know, begs to be explored. Like, for real. Oh my god, come on. Oh my god. Okay. It's cool. No, I'm gonna... No, we're good. Good. I'm gonna show you a little bit of climbing right now. I feel like I have a lot of freedom to get around the world in interesting ways. And I love it. I absolutely love it because it can get a little tired, in some of the other games, getting around the world. It just feels very flat. You feel very stuck to the ground. Only being able to jump when you're run off the edge of something. Stuff typically feels kind of blocky. Everything here feels very organic, and they give you the tools to navigate, and that's fucking great. Next up, I want to say the weather. You notice how foggy and rainy it was and I can barely see? Another awesome thing about the weather is all the crazy side effects. If it's raining, you'll slip while you're climbing. You might have seen me just kind of slip down there. But it makes, navigating the world while it's raining a lot harder because it's hard to climb. And that's nice and refreshing. There was one area with like a big ass maze and I thought I could cheat by just climbing up the walls. But you couldn't because it's always raining and you keep slipping. So you actually have to just do the maze. Oh, I think this is a statue that will let me upgrade my shit. Also, lightning storms. Oh my god, lightning has never been so scary. And the awesome thing is, if you're holding a metal weapon or a shield or a bow, you can be struck by lightning. And it's devastating. It'll kill you instantly. I might have to blow my nose in a second. And it's scary. You can actually use that to your advantage and throw a weapon that is metal that's about to be struck by lightning into a pack of enemies and have them be struck by lightning too. You can do that with a boomerang. Oh, it's fucking cool. It's so fucking cool. I love all the different weather. This is just something that I can pray to that'll let me upgrade my stats, which is another thing that I really like about this game. Another thing in my top 10 pros is that it's not just like heart containers now. Now you can actually choose. You get these spirit orbs, and you can choose to spend 4 of them to get a heart container, or you can choose to spend 4 of them to upgrade your stamina. And since stamina, applies to all things, navigation, like climbing and running and jumping and gliding, having extra stamina is just as valuable as having a lot of hearts, because it's not just about combat, it's about exploration and navigation in a way that, I think Skyward Sword had a little bit of the stamina stuff, but not to this extent, because you could do so much more in this game. And it's just really great that they give you that freedom to kind of create the character you want. You can go like fucking all stamina, and just glide forever and climb forever and maybe suck in combat. But next up, as far as pros, is the combat in this game is really, really fun. This is easily the best combat the series has ever had. Honestly, I think the combat in the Zelda series has always been a little They've done some interesting things, like Skyward Sword had the sword aiming, and I honestly think like Twilight Princess probably had the best in terms of like moves and stuff that you can do. These are little puzzles in the world. When you find these little leaf dudes and you try to get to all the... Oh, fuck. Oh, no. We fucked that up. We'll come back to it later. You'll find the little leaf guys, and they'll give you seeds, and you can upgrade like your inventory and stuff. But so combat would be the next thing that I would say is a major pro in this game. because everything like it almost feels like Far Cry when you come across a camp of moblins and stuff, and you're trying to take them out, because there's like a stealth element to it where you can kind of sneak up and plan your attack and like headshot a dude. And when they come at you, combat just feels so tight and responsive. The everything is very physicsy and reactive, and I guess that would be the next thing, is that when you're doing this combat, enemies are going flying, you're going flying, you're throwing bombs, they're rolling down hills, they're exploding things, they're exploding you. Just you interact with these enemies, and they interact with you in ways that you've never really experienced in a Zelda game. And there's some amazing ragdoll as well. So I love the combat. I love how physicsy and reactive everything is. You throw a round bomb, and it rolls down a hill. And you know what? When physics happen, and then you accidentally blow yourself up, and then you go flying off a cliff and rolling, and then a rock falls off that hill and rolls down and hits you in the head. It's so good. It's so good. Physics, who would have thought? It makes everything better. Another thing I really, really like about this game are the fucking weapon types. Finally, it's not just a fucking Master Sword. You're given all these weapons, and I know, like Wind Waker experimented with, you can pick up some enemy weapons and stuff, and use that for a little bit. But never has there been so many different weapon types with so many cool like moves and stuff. So like each weapon has like your basic combos. You can charge it up, and depending on what it is, it'll do different moves. There's like dash attacks, depending on the weapon. Look how he spins around there. There's jumping attacks, and it all feels very freeform and not so locked and restrictive like it was in past games. Like you can just do these moves. You can just jump and do these fucking moves, and it feels great. It's not like a contextual thing like it was in some of the other Zelda games. And maybe I don't want to show off all these weapons, but like, man, you could do some cool shit. There's fucking boomerangs. Like boomerangs in this game, right? That you can use to like slash and stuff, right? But you can throw them. Check this out. You have to manually catch them. You have to manually catch them. If you miss them in combat, whoop, it goes flying off. Oh shit. Where is it? Okay. Yeah. Like, it's so fucking dope. There's stuff like I got these rods here, which again, back to the reactive world and stuff. You can set shit on fire. This game is very Far Cry. Such a dope ass weapon, or like this thing which can like electrify things. Just basic weapons, and you get them and they're fucking rad. Check this shit out. No, this is not the one I want. Check this shit out. No, not that one. Not that one. This one. Huh? How dope is that? How dope is that? Just really cool, awesome, fun weapon types. It makes combat so great. Absolutely love it. What's next on my list of pros? I really like this game. I guess we've done about 9 things here. Finally, I would like to say that one of the most annoying things about like Twilight Princess, about Skyward Sword, is how like hand-holdy it is, especially at the beginning, where it's like tutorial after tutorial, like talk to this dude for a million years, and like, oh, this is where you're supposed to go to this dungeon. This took a page from A Link Between Worlds, where they kind of experimented with the more open-ended shit, and they just said, fuck it, do anything you want, whatever you want, go where you want. You have a quest log, so you can keep track of that stuff, but like, look at my main quest. Destroy Ganon. Like right at the beginning of the game, and by the way, it's not a secret. As soon as the game starts, it's like, dude, Ganon, he's fucking shit up. Your quest is to destroy him. And you can go right to Hyrule Castle and try to fight him, and you'll probably die because you're not ready. But it gives you the freedom to do what you want, to explore this world where you want. And I've definitely entered areas that are way too difficult. Like, I shouldn't be here, but you know what? I bet I can, like, sneak and I have some tricks and I can get around. I can climb over this instead of going through this. And, you can find yourself, doing some really crazy stuff in some really hard areas. But it's great because the game gives you that freedom and it lets you make those mistakes. And you could just go anywhere. This is totally a game like Elder Scrolls where you're like, that looks interesting way over there. I'm going to go there. Fuck this shit. Okay, so let me try to not die here. Like I said, now I am wearing... Oh, no! There's one more awesome pro that I want to talk about here. And that's that there are weapon sets in this game. See all this dope-ass armor that I'm wearing? It's not just cool looking, it actually has different effects, different stats, Like I'm wearing this high defensive armor that gives me a lot of defense because I was getting one shot, early on. But then you can find great fairies to like upgrade your armor like almost Dark Souls style. And I was really able to get my defense up, on this armor. And it's like a super satisfying, very RPG thing. But like my headdress is actually... I know it seems silly. I'll show a little bit of this stuff. I mean, I don't think it's a huge deal if I show you some of my armor that I got. It's not like story related. Like I have this armor which has crazy high defense. I've been upgrading it, but like this armor here increases my climbing speed, or this armor gives me cold resistance because if you go up into snowy mountains, you'll take damage from it being really cold, which is cool. Again, the weather in this game is really fucking dope. Or this armor that I just got, which boosts my attack power, and you can get you can upgrade all that stuff, and even get set bonuses if you're wearing like a full set, that give you like really cool effects. It's just so fucking rad. It makes the loot and stuff feel quite desirable. Like you really want to find some of these armor sets and upgrade them and get some of those special effects. So many good things to say about this game, but I guess that's 10 of them. I know I'm not technically numbering them, but needless to say, after 25 hours, there's a lot of really good things to say about this game. But it's also getting like 10s across the board. It's like the highest rated game of all time, or one of them. But I do have 10 or so bad things I would like to say about this game, because again, I think people are not talking about some of this stuff. Let me try to focus on what the fuck I'm doing here. I was going to go here. Okay. I actually marked it over here. Okay. Let's head in this direction. Now, negatives. Let's go ahead and start with, these are things that bother me. And I know this might upset some people because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The first thing that I'll say is that don't be fooled by that trailer you saw back in January and some of the stuff maybe you saw when you started this game. There is voice acting in this game, and I really do enjoy what's there. When I started this game, when I completed like that first area before the world completely opened up, you meet a character and he's like setting up the world, and he's saying you need to do this and you need to do that, and it was voice acted, and it felt so epic. It was like fucking Gandalf in Lord of the Rings saying, fucking Link, you will go to the east and blah blah blah, and it felt, I was like, my heart swelled with adventure. It just seemed so dope, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was finally voice acting and that shit was good. But that voice acting is pretty rare. It's only really in some pretty important story sequences throughout this game, but you'll come across villages with a lot of side quests and a lot of NPCs, and none of that's voiced. And it kills me. It kills me that Nintendo can't fork over the dough to voice act all the lines in the game, because it seems like they have some really interesting characters in this game. But I really do think that it could really be that much better if that stuff was voice acted. I've been playing Tales of Berseria, which is like a 60-hour RPG, and it's got more voice acting in it than I've ever seen in a video game. Like, and the characters that you come across, even people, NPCs in towns, you have conversations between them and the party members. The party members are talking with each other. There's so much character development. It makes the world feel so fucking rich. You want to hear that stuff. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a personal preference, but I feel like, when you're trying to make a world filled with interesting characters, it just seems so much better when they're actually acted by actors that give a performance, because what's here is really great, and when they are talking, it's so much better. I don't understand. Well, if a Tales game can have 50 times more voice acting than this game, I'm pretty sure Namco's budget for that game is a fraction of what Nintendo, was able to spend on this game. I just don't get it. Like, just go all the way. Your game's gonna feel, your world, your characters are gonna feel so much more alive than reading the text, which can get a little tedious, honestly, depending on who you're talking to, because they aren't real fucking characters, and I don't get it. It bothers me. What else? What else do we have? 9. So let's talk a little bit about. No, you know what? Let's do that one later. Let's talk about the climbing. And again, some of this stuff's going to sound really nitpicky. And I like that you can climb on every surface. It's great. I talked about that in the pros. It's really slow. It's really slow. And this is not very high, but you're climbing mountains and stuff. Look how much stamina I have. Like, I'll easily climb surfaces where I can't even get close up to its max height without running out of stamina. But, like, it is a goddamn slog sometimes. I wonder if this is vertical enough for me to actually show you how slow it is. Probably not. It is so brutal. And then when you jump, it takes up such a big chunk of stamina to where it's not actually worth it when you're climbing a surface that matters. And I want to show you something else, just to see how crazy this is. And I love that climbing's in there. I just don't understand why it has to be that slow. If balance out with how much stamina it takes or whatever, but just make it faster. I even have gear that boosts my climbing speed. It is still... Wait, hold on. Let me actually start climbing. I think I'm walking. Yeah, I'm climbing. Actually, this ain't bad. Now that I have 2 pieces of it, it's a little bit faster. But look, this is a slog. This is the speed you're going to be moving for most of the game. Again, it's a little nitpicky, but I don't get it. Sometimes it makes you, even though you're able to climb over the mountain, you kind of just want to go around it anyways, because God damn it, it could just be a little bit faster. Again, kind of a nitpick, but it really does bother me. Like, look at that thing off in the distance. I think I climbed that to get up there for the most part, and it was a pain in the ass. When you are going around that mountain, I'll say this kind of sucks. Horses in this game suck. Now, again, I haven't beaten this game. I don't know if I'm eventually going to get a Pona or what. I don't know how that works. But from what I understand, you find horses in the wild, you tame them, you take them to stables, you can board them, and then you can call them. And I've caught about 3 horses in the game. And I played a lot of games with horses. But, by the way, I named my horse Zelda, because, Link finally gets to ride Zelda. I'm sorry. I named one of my horses Zelda. No idea where my horse is, I know there's like a system where, if your horse isn't near you, it can't come to you. Right now, my horse is over here. It's not like Red Dead or a lot of other games where your horse is just going to show up. You actually need to be kind of close to your horse to whistle for it, right? Which, hey, fine, whatever, right? But here's the other thing. The horses kind of suck anyways. They're constantly getting stuck. And I'm talking about you're trying to call them. He's stuck behind a rock, and he just ain't coming. The other thing is, even when you're riding the horses, you can't jump. And because of the terrain and the topography of this world is complex, there are multiple heights. There's lots of, stuff that you're going to have to climb over and jump over, which you can as Link. You can in your fucking horse. So like this, I couldn't jump up this shit in my horse. I would have to go around, and he'd be getting stuck, and half the time I'm just like, fuck it. And then I'm at a point where I kind of need a horse. I whistle for it. It just doesn't come to me. Even if I'm near it, it won't come to me because he's fucking stuck. And it'll tell you, he can't fucking get to you. To the point where after 25 to 30 hours, I usually just don't bother, and it's such a bummer. I wish I had an ocarina and I could just call my horse and it would just magically come to me. There's a lot of fucking magic in this game. Just let me fucking use magic to get my fucking horse because, god damn it. I just don't understand what... Ooh, lightning storm coming. Might be getting back to pros here in a second. Let's make sure I'm not holding anything metal. Actually, let's hold something metal. Do you see how this stuff is flashing? That's saying, hey, you're holding some metal shit. Be careful. Let me show you what happens when you're holding metal in a storm. Shit. This is kind of scary, so I'm going to shut up for a second. Yep. Boom. Lots of... I dropped my guardian shield. What? 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 Did I just lose a shield because I got struck by lightning? Oh, hell no. We reloading. What the fuck? Okay. So, what was I talking about? Where was I? Where the fuck? Oh, I was saying the horse sucks. It sucks. The horse system sucks. The horse sucks. Not having your horse sucks. Even when you have it, it kind of sucks. I don't get it. Let's talk about the items. You know how in the Zelda game, you find a dungeon, there's an item in it, it's like, oh, you got a big fucking epic item, you know, Metroidvania style, you're going to be able to use that out in the world to find secrets and stuff. Well, the items in this game, you kind of get pretty much all of them right at the beginning of the game. 2 of them are bombs. You know, you get the ability to magnetize things, you get the ability to, like, you know, freeze things and add inertia and stuff. You can, like, create little pillars of ice and water. And again, I would call these spoilers, but you got to understand, you get all of these very early on in the game with very little fanfare. And this is more or less your special items in the game. And I think that's kind of a problem. There's little to no fanfare when you get them, but getting a new item, a special item, in a Zelda game should be like a pretty memorable thing. Bows in this game, they're just like an item, like in an RPG. You get special arrows just like you would get special arrows in like Skyrim. It's a bow is a bow is a bow. They have different stats. And again, I like that it's more of an RPG. But, you know, I liked when, you know, oh, you got the fucking, you got the grappling hook. And that means so much to how you explore the world. And you use these things in shrines, which we'll get to in a second. But again, I kind of miss the just the fanfare, the way they treated items in the past, you know, like getting really cool shit, like when you got the spinner in fucking Twilight Princess, or the mole mitts and Minish Cap, or I liked the weird cool items that would play into dungeons, that would play into world exploration. That's more or less gone in favor of these kind of interesting abilities that you use in shrines. Let's talk about my next kind of negative, and that is the shrines. Actually, you know, let's hold off on that, because in reality that's going to tie into dungeons, which we'll get to in a second. I want to say this, it might sound kind of nitpicky. You don't find hearts by like cutting grass in this game, and you do lose a lot because, like I said, the game was hard, and that's a pro. But the way you heal in this game is to eat stuff, and you have a lot of stuff to eat and cook, and really cooking meals are how you restore your stuff. And you know, there's some cool ideas there. Like, depending on what you cook, it can restore health, or it can give you like a stat bonus. Like that, for whatever reason, that meal would give me a stealth boost, which is nice. Let's see if we can do this thing. But the cooking interface, let me see if I can... I kind of don't want to show you guys because I don't want to go to a village. That might be a little spoilery. But you have, only in certain parts of the world where you see fires that have little pots on them, can you cook. I could probably go to the first area of the game, and it's not a huge deal to actually cook some shit. But you basically have to, and again, cooking is a very important part of this game. You have to go to your menu, cycle through your food, pick an item. Say I want to make a baked apple. I'm going to hold that. I'm going to exit the menu. I'm going to drop it in the pot. Imagine a pot's there. I'm gonna wait until the thing is finished cooking, and then I have a baked apple. And I have to do that with every single thing I want to cook. It's time consuming, it's tedious, and I just don't understand why there's not a more like a quicker, more streamlined way to cook things. Like, for example, let's say I have, 7 prime meats, right? I want to cook them so they restore a lot of health, right? I will literally have to go to the menu, click on it, hold it, exit the menu, drop it, wait for it to cook, and of course there's like cooking, here's what it is, a pop-up, here's what it is. Then you got to go back into your menu, select the next one, exit, drop it, wait, fanfare, and it just... Cooking is so tedious, and it's the main way that you buff. It's the main way that you heal, and it's honestly way more frustrating than it should be. And I just don't get it. It's the kind of thing where most games with any sort of cooking interface have found nice ways to make that experience very user friendly. And I'll just extend to the fact that kind of the UI with this stuff is just a little bothersome in general. It's just not as elegant as you want it to be. Like, for example, if I see a new bow that I want to pick up and I have a limited inventory for carrying bows, I have to go into the menu to drop the bow I'm holding so I can pick up the new bow. I can't just pick up the new one. And I can't just drop it out of my hands. It's just, some of the interface stuff is a little bothersome. But this is cool. These work as boomerangs. Okay, well, they're supposed to. Let me see if I can make that a little bit better. I think they work as boomerangs. Guess this one doesn't. So yeah, interface, especially with the cooking, kind of tedious, kind of frustrating. What else do we got? Okay. Okay, let's talk about durability. Because this is frustrating. If you saw earlier in the pros, I was talking about how dope the weapons are and dope the weapon types are. Well, don't ever fall in love with a weapon, because you're not going to have it very long. A weapon rarely survives more than a couple of encounters with some enemies. And if you're fighting a harder enemy, that weapon that you're using is probably not going to survive. And it's so frustrating because you get shit that's so dope, and there are often even rewards and shrines for finding the hidden chest. You get a cool weapon. Like, I had this badass ice greatsword that every time I hit something, it would freeze, and it was so dope. And I was like, I waited so long before I finally used it because I knew it would just break. I would be able to use it for 5-6 minutes while I'm fighting stuff, and it's gonna go away. And that breaks my goddamn heart, because, and I know you're constantly picking up new shit, but sometimes, I want to be a spear person. I really like spears, but I can't become a spear person because I'm going to have a couple spears, and these spears are going to fucking break. And that, it kills me. It kills me because these weapons are so awesome. I don't understand why they do it. There are games out there which I really enjoy. I talked about Let It Die last year. It was one of my favorite games of last year. That game has weapons with very low durability like this game, but there is a way to make new ones, to craft new weapons, and once you do, they have higher durability, which is fucking great. Because you can say, oh, I really love the fucking hammers and Let It Die. I'm going to craft a bunch of them, and they're going to last me quite a long time because they have much higher durability. In this game, there's a few weapons you can actually craft, but it's honestly, the cost is kind of exorbitant. It doesn't seem worth it. But even then, it's not like they have much higher durability. I mean, some weapons do have higher durability, but we're talking about, well, you can kill maybe a couple more enemies with it before that shit breaks. And it doesn't make sense to me. Like, they should have made a system of like repairing weapons, because that's the thing. That's the fucking thing. You can't repair stuff once it breaks. And I have such dope shit. I have such dope shit, but once it breaks, it is gone forever. And this world is so fucking massive and giant. Oh shit. I'm about to be struck by lightning again. Hold on. Let me drop whatever I have metal. I think it's this. No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Nope, my bow is metal. Let's go to this one. Okay. You know, and it makes you just not want to use the cool shit. And, you know, eventually you'll find something hard, and you'll use the cool shit, and it'll go away, and you're just going to be heartbroken. But don't give Link cool shit and not give him a way to repair that, because it sucks. It sucks. Which leads to my next negative, which probably breaks my heart more than anything else in this game. Notice I have 2 shields. They're both Guardian shields, which you get from killing Guardian enemies, like in shrines. You know, shields are a big thing in this one, you know, because you can, not only can you block things, I use them for collecting arrows. This is not officially on my list, but arrows, which have a lot of utility in this game, you can get headshots and stuff, very short supply. They're very expensive to buy, and the way I collect them is I find an enemy that shoots arrows, and I just let them shoot arrow after arrow after arrow into my shield, and when you put away your shield, you get to keep those arrows. Eventually that shield breaks because, again, the durability system, but it's, in my opinion, the most efficient way to collect arrows, because, you know, I feel like you need arrows, and I'm always fucking out of them. Look, I have no regular arrows. You can't just slash grass and get arrows. It's kind of annoying. Oh, man. So shields have durability, right? Doesn't matter, because I never block in combat anyways. And here's why. And here's why I have no shields. And it kills me that I'm even going to do this. But the coolest thing in this game... Remember how I talked about all the really cool ways of getting around the world? By far, the coolest thing that they added in this game. It's so fun. Again, don't fall in love with, because you can't realistically do the most fun thing in the game as much as you want because of durability. And this is specifically refers to... This would be an absolute pro if this didn't happen. You pull your shield out. You can shield surf. And it's so fucking fun. It's such a dope ass... You can even do tricks. It's such a dope ass way to get around. It's such a dope ass way, because there's a lot of hills and cool shit, and you can even like jump and then glide and then land. And oh, wait, I didn't do that right. But this Guardian shield, this reward that I got in a shrine, just broke after 10 seconds of shield sliding. And that's one of the better shields that I have. Now I have 1 shield. Do you understand how you can't realistically keep that up? This is not some shitty wooden shield that I got from killing a moblin. That was a pretty good shield. And it's gone. You know? And shields, you know, you need shields because you can like parry in this game and stuff. And don't put in something so fun and then restrict the player from doing it, because you're just taking joy away. You're tempting them into doing it. But like, this is such a good shield that I'm just gonna destroy. And it breaks my goddamn heart. I don't get it. Even the best shield in this game, the fucking, you know, Hylian shield or what, or not a, what is it? I don't know. But the best shield in the game still has a durability, and eventually it will break from shield surfing. Why would you do that? Again, it may sound like a nitpick, but don't put in something so fun and then basically just laugh in the face of the player who wants to do it so badly, but they can't. I never have shields because I can't not do it. And I go farm a bunch of shitty wooden shields just to do it more, but they break so quick. It's not even worth it. It's why? Just take out the... I'm okay with shields having durability. You know, they get hit a bunch, they break. Let me shield surf. Just let me shield surf. Why? I would spend like $10 of real DLC money to get a shield that doesn't break just so I could surf around this world, because there's so many cool, interesting surfaces. Okay, what's next? If I feel like I'm talking a lot about the cons, that's because I feel like I need to justify myself a little bit, because That's the kind of shit. Like with the good shit, people are gonna be like agreeing. They're gonna be high fiving. Yes, they love this game. Here, I feel like if I don't explain myself well, I'm gonna get a lot of shit, and I don't want that to happen. Let's talk. I got three more things here. Three more things. Let's talk about shrines. So, you see this thing off in the distance there? That's a shrine I've completed. When you explore the world, you go up high up on these towers. It's a great way to discover stuff in the world, but you'll see these shrines off in the distance. They'll be orange. You'll tag them, you'll mark them, you're like, oh, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do that shrine. And you know what? For the most part, the puzzle design in this game, it's a pro. There's some cool creative stuff. Stuff involving physics, which you don't really see too often in a Zelda game. I don't actually really mind. I think the puzzle design's good. I do really think it's good. But for the most part, a lot of it's broken up into these 100, 120 maybe shrines across the world, which is a compelling thing to find as you're exploring the world because they give you the points you need to upgrade, right? And this video is getting really long. The problem with shrines is that is kind of the dungeons of this game. I'm not going to... Well, okay, let me say this. A lot of what you get from like playing something like Twilight Princess, the meat of that game is in, the big, massive dungeons in that game. But in this game, and again, this is another negative, is there are very few actual dungeons. The ones that are there are kind of epic in scope and what you're doing, but as far as once you get into them and you start solving the handful of puzzles that they have in them, they're not actually real proper Zelda dungeons. Like none of I've only done one. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've only done one, and it was okay. Like there was a cool way to interact with that dungeon. I'm sure there's going to be cool twists in some of the others, but there's only 4, and they're not as like deep or long or complex as some of the best dungeons in something like Twilight Princess or Ocarina of Time. Instead, what you have, they're honestly just kind of like set PC kind of stuff with bosses. Instead, what you have are these shrines spread across the world, and they're fine. There's decent puzzles in there, but really you go in there and it's like 2 or 3 puzzles using one of these abilities. Like I was saying, one of these abilities, maybe a few of them together. Maybe you're solving something kind of physicsy. And then you get to the end, and you get your upgrade, and you're out. The problem with that is, and I don't think the puzzle design's bad. I think it's actually pretty fine. But there's something to be said about like a deep, long, complex Zelda dungeon that might have like let's take the water dungeon in Ocarina of Time. I know it's infamous mostly because you're constantly in the menu switching between the iron boots and your regular boots and stuff to float and sink. But if you look at that dungeon, which you might be in for hours, it's all about kind of figuring out how all the rooms connect to each other, how the whole layout of the dungeon works, how raising and lowering the level of the water affects like everything in the dungeon, and like, oh wait a minute, if I lower the water here, I can go back to this one room and it's affected this thing. That is kind of gone from this game because every shrine in this game is just a tiny little a thing with a couple of rooms with a couple of puzzles that aren't like super difficult. They're not typically filled with mini enemies or hard enemies. There are like enemy dungeons where you have to like beat a tough enemy or whatever, but for the most part, shrines are just a couple of puzzles that you solve in a pretty linear fashion to get to the end. It's like 2 rooms, go through, get your upgrade point. There's some clever stuff in there. There really is, but it feels so disjointed, and it lacks the cohesiveness of a big complex dungeon because stuff isn't influencing other things in other parts of the world. You're not getting like an item that ties into that dungeon, almost like Metroidvania-y, where I get this item and it's a revelation. Now I can do this, this, and this in these different parts of the dungeons. And the other problem with shrines is they all look the same. They all have the same music. They all have the same like tile set. And so you miss a lot of like the atmosphere and like the grand like distinctness of different dungeons, like the fire dungeon in Twilight Princess is very different feeling than like the Sky Dungeon or like that Snow Manor in Twilight Princess. And but here all the shrines, they look the same, they sound the same, and it's a little bit of a letdown. Even though those puzzles are pretty solid, I kind of miss the classic Zelda dungeon. Now, the ones that are considered the dungeons of this game are kind of just like slightly bigger shrines with a twist. They still don't feel like the kind of thing you're going to spend hours in really figuring out how to get around, you know, how everything works and connects, you know, with like mid bosses, and then you're ultimately you're going to get your item, you get to the boss of the dungeon. It's a little disappointing. Now, maybe shrines are necessary because you have to, you know, they have to find a way to fill such a giant, massive, and interesting world with compelling things to do as you explore, and maybe that's why they're all broken up. But I think the side effect of that is, you know, they're not able to really go whole hog on your proper Zelda dungeon. And honestly, you know, it would be nice to have, you know, say like 8 really good proper dungeons in this world, but I don't think it's realistic. So maybe they'll try for the next one, but I don't know. And finally, my last con before I end this video. It's way too long, but people wanted to hear me talk about this. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? This is what you hear. I've played this game for 25 to 30 hours. This is what you hear most of the time. Nothing. The music is so subtle, so understated, so barely there. And you know what? That's a fine creative choice. I'm going to fast travel to a shrine. It's a bold creative choice, but and, you know, some of the town themes are kind of nice. Even those are pretty slow and you know, nice. Little like, you know, like kick back and listen to the nice slow tune. But it's not the same, man. Like Zelda is a series you think about of having some of the dopest, most epic, most grandest adventuring music. You know, think about, you know, like the sailing theme from Wind Waker, or the, you know, the fucking Hyrule Field theme from Twilight Princess, or just the classic Zelda overworld theme. You know, or like the themes that you attach to the different dungeons in a Zelda game, you know. Gerudo Valley's theme. Like that is Zelda, that fucking music. And I feel like they really dropped the fucking ball here, man. Now, again, 100 shrines, 120 shrines. This is the theme you hear every time. These are your dungeon themes. And it's kind of like a really soft, subtle remix of something you did from I think the dungeon theme from an older Zelda game. But like nothing is hype in this game, and it's such a bummer. Now let me give you an example of a shrine here. This is the shrine. This is what you get in place of like say, you know, 6, 7, 8 epic temples with distinctive. This is, you hit this ball in this thing here, which I may have fucked this up. Sorry to spoil this one, but it's not like this one's hard to figure out. Use the motion control to do it. That opens up that platform. It takes you to the end. You've solved this shrine. Admittedly, some of the other ones have a couple more rooms than this, are a little more complex. I think this one actually does have one more like golf thing or whatever in another room. But for the most part, I've solved this shrine. This is what I'm talking about. A little bit of a bummer, you know? Like, there's nothing in this... Like, as good as some of these are, as clever as some of these are, I'm never going to remember one of these shrines like I remember one of the best, even some of the more average temples from this series. So I think something a little bit is lost there. But you know what? If all of these things have to have been this way to make this game as dope as it is, and don't get me wrong, this game is so fucking dope. This is the most addictive Zelda game I've ever played. It's one of the best open world games I've ever played. It just the drive to want to explore every nook and cranny of the fucking world is so strong in this game that I will forgive it for some of these the things that you really expect out of a Zelda game that maybe this game doesn't have, because what they do have is so fucking it's so goddamn dope. But maybe I should have started with the negatives first, because now I'm just kind of exhausted from talking so much, and I don't want to seem like I'm down on this game, because I'm really not. But I had a lot to say, and I don't really think I was going to be able to get all of this out on the podcast. And since so many people have been asking me for my impressions, I thought I would make this video. So, I don't know. I know this one's very long-winded, but let me know what you think. Maybe I'll make some more of these in the future, depending on the game. I know Nier comes out this week. But yeah, let's just wrap this shit up, because this has been going on too long. Thanks for watching, and please let me know what you think below. If I'm a jerk, if I'm an asshole, if you agree with me on some of these things or not. Yeah. Anyways, peace out.